So E3 has come and gone, and unfortunately, MK fans did not get what they were hoping for in a new Kombat Pack 3 or any type of DLC announcement at the E3 event. Now, as I posted on Twitter, which quite a few people ended up liking, we had my version of what people probably thought the reaction to the WB Games Back for Blood, which seems super short. Their presentation, their basic layout of the game, I thought was kind of short, but basically I did Viola Davis picking up her purse and leaving like, I'm impressed. But someone posted on Twitter, and there's been other talks, I think on Reddit and some other forums about, how Mortal Kombat fans maybe should just get ready for possibly the waiting game. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to say, and they posted some timelines of other video games and kind of showed that, for other fighting game fans, either MK fans or other, video game fans of other video games, sometimes they have to wait a lot longer than Mortal Kombat fans think they have to wait to get content. So I wanted to dive into that timeline, go over some of those games, and discuss, do they have a point in what other possible hopes for a DLC announcement we could still possibly get this year for Mortal Kombat 11. So I don't know if this person actually created this timeline, but I found this on Twitter and I actually retweeted it, and it comes from Tommy Gagnon, the CEO of the Daru fans. He's a character from, I believe, Armageddon, I think, or Mortal Kombat 4. You can at me in the comments if I got that wrong. But nonetheless, he posted his timeline, and I kind of wanted to go through it and break it down and kind of discuss, the various video games that have short, similar timelines to Mortal Kombat, which they're not that many, and the ones that have longer timelines, and kind of talk about, are Mortal Kombat fans' expectations set too high? So from the very beginning of this timeline, we have Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, and as you can see from the timeline, it gives you more of a, from the release date to the end of the last DLC. And what's interesting is when you look at Mortal Kombat 10 and Mortal Kombat 11, they're about the same length. Now, I noticed that on Mortal Kombat 11, I think the blue bar needs to be just a little bit further. We didn't get anything for the 2-year release, but I think since we're still kind of maybe possibly in the waiting game, we're still waiting, I think the blue bar should still be going because the game is still relevant and they're still doing things, with the pro combats and the combat leagues and all the other various things. They're trying to keep the game, still interesting for players, either player to player in the same country and around the world, etc. So I think the game still has had some stuff going on. So I think the blue bar for Mortal Kombat 11 at least should still be a little bit longer, and probably even for Mortal Kombat 10 it probably should have been just a little bit longer too. So moving on, we have Soul Calibur 6, we have Dragon Ball Fighter Z, we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we have Tekken 7, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and then we have Street Fighter 5. Now the way he has this kind of hierarchy, it is obviously from short to largest, being the last 3 games being the longest fans have had to basically wait on how long these games have actually been out. I'm thinking, crap, Tekken 7 has been out for a long time, and I hardly hear anything about that game. Now, Super Smash Brothers I can kind of relate to, because I did play that for a short while. Just wasn't my thing, but I have a lot of friends that played and enjoy it. But I see that on here, possibly some confirmed DLC coming up for that game. And I was just reading yesterday an article that's talking about that there's possibly going to be announced at Nintendo Direct 2021, or whatever they're going to call it, through the E3 version, which I'm actually recording during that event right now. They're talking about they could possibly announce maybe the last DLC pack for that game and the last characters that they're going to add to that roster, which already has so many characters in that game. Now, I think it's interesting is there's also been rumors of new content coming for the Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and for Street Fighter 5, and both of those games as well have been out. I mean, Street Fighter 5 has almost been out for six years, which is crazy. So the question comes down to, are Mortal Kombat 11 fans' expectations set too high, and are we ultimately just needing to wait a little bit longer and be more patient for new content? I feel like, a lot of people are thinking with Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, given that we had the original timeline, Aftermath, the various DLCs in between, all the skin packs, and then we have the Ultimate version, that possibly could be it. Maybe we still could get another DLC, or maybe even, one more final DLC. I know that some people have been saying that during COVID that kind of messed things up, and I think that as a lot of places have been affected, costs that could have gone towards that maybe got redistributed somewhere else. So that possibly means that a new combat pack, or any new DLC that was going to happen for Mortal Kombat 11 could possibly have been scrapped in favor of saving that money for a different project or for something like a future project. But it doesn't mean that we necessarily are done with Mortal Kombat 11, right? Because, 2 years, while that seems like a long time for a video game, which I guess it could be a long time after looking at some of these other games, it's really not that long. I think maybe we could be, in a holding pattern, and, they're still doing events, they're still doing crypt events, everyone's still posting about them. So, I mean, maybe they are just prolonging it a little bit longer and seeing, if the interest is still there, and if it is, then they'll give fans what they want and give us another DLC. Possibly a final DLC. I don't know how much more we can go from Ultimate, Absolute version, I don't know, Con Ultimate, I don't know, they could come up with any other name, but, we could just be in a holding pattern and basically the waiting game and seeing if something else comes out. Now, what I think is interesting is that when you're looking at these timelines from Mortal Kombat 10 to 11, the release time between them is a pretty good chunk of time. So April 2019 is when Mortal Kombat 11 came out, and obviously I believe Mortal Kombat X kind of really was more towards, it was like 2.5 years before we got the next game, which in my mind seems about fair because like with movies, for instance, unless it's just like a super successful movie that they need to have a sequel out right away, typically it's like 2 to 3 years before we get the next movie, like sequel or iteration of whatever the franchise is. So in video games, that seems about the same time frame, you would think, but in some cases, these games go a lot longer before they ever get, the next number iteration. Now, I know this is like Call of Duty where they have a new game every year, but I think when it comes to these fighting games, maybe our habits are changing a little bit, and maybe we think we need everything right away, but maybe in reality we need to kind of be more patient. Now, I know you're going to get mad in the comments and say, Justin, how could you say that? You're more Kombat fan yourself. I am. And I want new content. I want to know, we got left on a cliffhanger either with Liu Kang or Shang Tsung. So, of course, I want to see what happens with the Mortal Kombat franchise. If it's going to be Mortal Kombat 11 as far as an Aftermath 2.0, or if that release does set the stage and that's the end for Mortal Kombat 11 and then Mortal Kombat 12 is the next game in the pipeline, I, of course, want to see what happens. And there are a lot of characters that fans want to see in Mortal Kombat 11 that are referenced. So why not just give us those characters, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could think about this and go about how you think NetherRealm Studios should give players content, either with more DLC for Mortal Kombat 11 or give us nothing and hold all of it for Mortal Kombat 12 or maybe a totally different game entirely. So with all that being said, is there any more chances of hope for a new Mortal Kombat 11 DLC announcement this year from NetherRealm Studios or from any other event? So as I think I commented on one of my videos or even on Twitter, I believe I was telling somebody that we could possibly just get a random NetherRealm Studios announcement that has nothing to do with an event. Maybe, E3 came and gone and they saw people's reactions. So like, okay, maybe we need to give them some content or give them some announcement that Mortal Kombat 11 is not, is done. Now, I will say that it's really silly for a company to say that the game is done because they know as soon as they say that, people aren't going to play anymore. People aren't going to, pay money for stuff on, because, a lot of these games, you don't have to pay to play, but there may be content, you need to buy monies or, stuff to get to the next level or stages or costumes and stuff. So they still want to make their money. So they're not going to just go out there and say that Mortal Kombat 11 is done. They might eventually after the game's been sitting there for a while, but for the most part, they're probably never going to say that it's done. But we could still possibly get a random thing from NetherRealm Studios letting fans know that, hey, we hear you, new content is eventually coming, just be patient, enjoy the game in the meantime. Second opportunity could possibly be from MK Legends 2 around the release date of that movie. So we do know that a new Mortal Kombat Legends sequel to Scorpion's Revenge is coming out, Battle of the Realms. I have a video where I've kind of gone through, kind of a brief overview of what that movie is about. Link in the comment below, and of course in a card up above. And that's set to come out around August 31st. So they could do something around there. And I've always thought to myself, the best part of branding and PR is stack your content together. So I think that Mortal Kombat 11 missed a good opportunity with the release of the movie. I don't think it would have taken anything away. I think You have a lot of fan base kind of all hyped up about Mortal Kombat period, so that's your time just to kind of give them everything you've got for Mortal Kombat. They could do that again with Mortal Kombat Legends 2. Now, I know that's not going to be a huge release compared to the Mortal Kombat movie, but it is still an opportunity for, you know, Mortal Kombat 11 to get more content out there and, you know, possibly give hype for not only the movie, but for the game, and that's a perfect opportunity for new DLC. And lastly, DC Fandom. Now, DC Fandom is scheduled to happen in October, and I don't know if it will still happen given that AT&T has basically sold Warner Brothers, or Warner Media, excuse me, to Discovery Plus, or Discovery. And I don't know if that the person in charge now will actually keep DC Fandom going. It seems like they still possibly could, because while we're getting Twitter, you know, teases and leaks about the new DC movies coming out, even the DC content for HBO Max and comics, etc., I still think that DC Fandom was a success, and I think that if they were to do it again, well, it may not be August, but like I said, October, I still think it would be just as successful and give us new updates, and there'll be more content to show this time around for all the new movies coming up, even some of the new games, because we have the Suicide Squad and we have Gotham Knights, which are set to come out in 2022, so we'll get new stuff for them. And why not go ahead and throw Mortal Kombat 11 a bone? It was in the trailer for the DC Fandom, I remember, because I was talking about it in a video, and Ed Boon was a guest speaker, so that's kind of how they tied that in there. But maybe this time around, maybe that could be the final hurrah for Mortal Kombat 11. So saying all that, do you think that Mortal Kombat 11 is in basically the waiting game? Do you think that we just have to be patient as fans and gamers and wait for new content to come out? Do you think that's what basically NetherRealm Studios has in store for us? They're just saying, hey guys, we're not going to say anything, you just got to be patient and just know that stuff is coming? Or do you think that Mortal Kombat 11 is just done and they're just not going to ever say officially that it's done? That's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. For videos like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.